Hi, my name's James Gordon, and I'm a piano player. I've been playing since I was about 7 years old. I'm 37 now, almost 38, so it's been quite a while, but I do teach when I'm not working. I work as a technical writer in digital marketing. So I have a couple different jobs. I love to teach. I'm passionate about music and the piano. And I have a great deal to share with others about the piano. I can't wait to show you and empower you on this instrument, which in my opinion is, well, it's not even my opinion. It's a common popular opinion, which I've heard a number of times. It's the easiest instrument to learn, to play, but it's the hardest instrument to master. And I still feel that way. I still feel I'm trying to master it. I've been working at it for however many years it's been. There have been so many diversions and experimentations. At this point, I feel that you would have to live many lives to master it. There's so much complexity to music and so many different ways of understanding music. So we're forced to specialize, to find a type of music that we really, resonates with us, that we can zero in on. In my case, I've chosen to innovate and play classical and jazz together. This is something that I've been told that other people don't really do very much. It's a unique potential that I offer. It is something I love, and I want to share it with others. So I'll talk about a few things in this video, some brief ideas, and I hope that this will help engage players to understand a little bit what goes on behind my process, so that you can also do what works for you, so that you can maximize your potential as a piano player. Every piano player starts out as a beginner, and we all have a different path. So I'm just trying to encourage people on their own individual path. Okay, so the first idea I'd like to talk about is, well, now I can't think what it was. There are a couple things. First of all, it's important. I want to talk a little bit about practicing, the nature of practice, quality over quantity. There are many myths out there, and if you break them down logically, they're kind of designed to set you up for failure. And they're often not true. I mean, that's what a myth is. There's some truth to them, but there's not much truth to them. It's really more important to see where they fall apart, where they fall short. So one of the myths is that you need practice all day to become an expert or to become advanced. This is a myth that's propagated in musician circles, especially classical or academic circles, where they're really trying to get people to play and to become indoctrinated in that school for many hours a day. And if it works for you, great. Often that's the dream, is to play for that many hours. But I can tell you, anyone that says you have to play 4 hours a day or 8 hours a day to be a professional is false. To reach a high level, you do not need to do that. You will never need to do that. And eventually it gets to the point where it is impossible to play that much per day, because you will injure yourself if you're playing at a certain speed and a certain level of intensity. So I'll demonstrate that now, what that looks like. If you're playing at maximum intensity, which is how I practice often, I practice sometimes at maximum intensity, you can't do that for very long. You can't do that for 4 hours a day. So it's all about breaking those myths, finding out where are the gatekeepers, what's stopping you from becoming the musician that you want to be. It's not about the authorities out there. It's not about the establishment and what they say. It's about what's inside in here, in your heart, and up here, and in your body, so that you can do what you want to do and bring out your musician. So let me demonstrate to you, a technique that you could not do for long. Okay, so you saw that part? Now I have to rest. So hopefully that gave you a sense for how tired your hands will get. You're a human being. You're not a machine. And most of the time when people spend 4 hours a day practicing or 8 hours a day practicing, they're not playing at that level of intensity because it would be impossible. In fact, it gets you injured. It gets you carpal tunnel syndrome. When I went to school at Western Washington, I remember there was a student that had carpal tunnel syndrome in both hands, a top student, because there's that drive, that myth that you do have to be practicing at that level of intensity. And people internalize that, and it's totally not okay. It's not just that it's not okay, it's false. So people are not being given the information that they need, which is quality over quantity. Very simple. It sounds like a cliche. That's the problem, is what it is that some truths start to sound like cliches. So when you say them, people aren't listening. Everybody wants to hear novelty. They want to hear new things they haven't heard. And if you tell them that it's quality over quantity, there will be resistance against that, but it's completely the truth. It's all about focus. It's all about the quality of the practice you're doing. I was just a sort of average level student when I started. I started out as a beginner like anybody else. I don't like to categorize people too much. I don't think it's fair or accurate, but there were many times where I was told to play, many hours a day or pushed to play more, and I was able to reach the results I wanted with about half of that amount of time. When they say you need to put that time in, if you're a classical pianist, often it's time spent just learning the score, memorizing the piece, taking what's on the page and internalizing it. So that's a huge part of the time you would be devoted. You would be devoting to your playing if you were a classical pianist learning pieces. Often there's a great deal of time that goes into memorizing and repeating and practicing again and again. It's slow, methodical, laborious practice. It's not 8 hours of playing at that level of intensity, because that's impossible. So you have to look at it as a process thing. Whatever your purposes are, figure out how long it's going to take for your purposes. Now, for my purposes, I'm an improviser. I improvise and I also compose. So there is no time that I spend with a score in front of me. I don't use scores anymore. There was a time when I did, and so I have insight into what that's like, but I haven't been using scores for many years now. After I transitioned out of piano as my major, I went into creative writing, poetry, and I hardly looked at a score ever again, for 20 years or so, 15, 20 years, something like that. So it's important to remember quality over quantity. You can play an hour a day there's no fixed rule. It is to adapt it to the individual. That is the most important thing. Okay, next point that I would like to make. No, I can't think what that one was, sorry. I have many points. I'm still figuring out which ones I want to say and which ones are the most important. Here's another point that I think is worth talking about. And it factors into this same system, which is break down the categories. Figure out kind of what the stereotypical boxes are that people are working within and talking about, and think outside the box. Maybe we could call this cliche endorsement and myth busting day, because cliches can be fantastic, and one of them is think outside the box. Again, people don't know how to apply it, but if you're going to innovate and you're going to be creative, which every musician should try to do, it doesn't matter who you are, every artist and every musician should be focusing on creativity and should be focusing on innovation. In order to do that, you really have to think outside the box. You can't just do things the way you're expected to do them. You can't just be a sheep and follow along with what others want you to do. You have to look at the limitations of the models that are being presented to you and to use your own judgment to find your way and to find a creative path forward for yourself. So I'm going to show you, I'll do another little excerpt, some improvisation as to blending classical and jazz styles such that you don't know which is which, to break down those categories and let people know that those are limitations. Often people use that as a crutch because they can't think outside the box. So they try to use categorizations to make life and music more manageable. Often it's to perpetuate hierarchies and to perpetuate some of these myths we were talking about, to give people carpal tunnel syndrome or to make them feel bad because they can't do it the perfect rigid way within that little box. So let's think outside the box here. I'm going to show you another excerpt of me playing that fuses classical and jazz together, which nobody taught me to do, by the way. No way. They would never. The fact that they're connected, they're similar, you might hear a little bit about it, but hardly anybody teaches this stuff. I invented this on some level. I'm not going to say I'm the only one, okay? There are many other great piano players, but for my way of doing it, nobody taught me, and I don't use a style that borrows really from anybody in particular. It's just stuff that I came up with. So let me show you a little bit more, and you'll see how I fuse together different styles of music such that we now have new styles. Okay, so there you can see blending of different styles. First of all, improvisation is very much within the wheelhouse of jazz. However, this tonalities, traditional harmonies, a lot of it's borrowed from classical. So, and some harmonies from jazz as well. But it's not strictly jazz or classical. You realize once you try to categorize things, you'll drive yourself a little bit crazy. So sometimes it's best not to categorize it. Just call it music. It's on the piano, that's the instrument. But it's music, and don't worry too much about what you call it. Know its characteristics if you had to describe it. It has some features of jazz, it has some features of classical. It involves improvisation. It involves some loose composition, some ideas I've tried before, but that's also within the wheelhouse of jazz, where there's some standard features that are then improvised within. So, all right, well, I hope this helps people. I'm so passionate about music, and I know how to teach yourself. I did play piano for many years. As a child, for about 10 years, I took lessons. And then I stopped. I cut it off. And all of the improvisation and all the music that I play, everything you see me playing here, this is of my own doing. So it helps to have the lessons, but they didn't teach me this. They taught me how to play Chopin and Rachmaninoff and composers. So the other stuff I had to teach myself. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more. I'd like to do this every day or every other day if I can, to provide some lessons, totally free, to cover important concepts that matter to me, and also to demonstrate them so that you can see them, and over time, you'll learn more. I know it's a lot to take in at once, depending on what level you're at, but over time, I really think this can help pianists of all levels to develop themselves. Thank you.